fourth graders. So today we are going to take a look at factors and factor pairs. And I labeled this as being factors using arrays and that it's a hands-on lesson. And so if you would like to do this along with me, you absolutely can. So here's what you need, and then I'm going to tell you to pause your video so you can go get it. All right, I'm using chocolate chips because I have chocolate chips in my house. But what you will need is 20 of something small. So like Skittles, M&Ms, of course those are all food related items. They can be like 20 little Lego pieces. So if you want to go find 20, just 20 of something small that you can help arrange into arrays, that will help you with the pattern. Actually, if you can grab 24 items, that will be great. So what you're going to do, I'm not going to pause the video, you're going to pause the video and go grab that and then come back, and then you can do this right along with me, okay? So go ahead and grab it. Okay, so now that you guys are all back, if you're just wanting to watch, that's absolutely fine. You can maybe do this later with your learning coach, and that would be cool too. You can even do this as you're working through your lessons, okay? So we are going to be making arrays, and we're going to be using that to help us find factor pairs. Now, when we are talking about factors, if you remember all the way back to multiplication, right? We learned that the factors are the two numbers that we multiply together to get a product. So if I have 2 times 4 equals 8, the factors are 2 times 4, okay? All right, sorry, I paused it for a second because my computer screen looked weird, but I think it's recording okay. All right, so 2 and 4 are the factors. 2 and 4 are factors of 8 because they are numbers I can multiply together to get 8, okay? So we use factors in a lot of different ways. A lot of times, like let's say we go to a movie theater, the rows are all the same length, right? There's the same amount of seats in every row. So if we know that we have 40 seats and we want to put them in equal sized rows, we want to think, well, what would be the best way to arrange that so that it fits within the movie theater and people aren't sitting too far away from the movie screen. Like if you did one row of 40, then these people who are all the way on either side are going to be like, whoa, the movie screen's really far away. I'm having to turn my head like this to watch a movie. Or if you do one row of 40 going backwards, then the person in the front's probably going to be happy, but the person all the way in the 40th seat in the back is going to be so far away from the movie theater and behind or movie screen and behind so many people that they may not like that. So you want to think, okay, well, what would be another way that I could arrange the seats so that it makes a good movie viewing experience for everyone? All right, and that's basically what we're doing with factors. So, you know, there's lots of different ways that you can apply this. If you were like, you know, a director of a marching band and you wanted to have equal rows of students playing instruments in equal columns, you know, that would be another example of where you're using an array, and you could figure out the different ways that you could arrange it so that there's always equal students in equal rows. All right, so one thing that's important to remember is we are talking about multiplication, and multiplication does mean equal sized groups. So I can't have a row with 7 and then a row with 5. Okay, that's not going to work, but I could have 2 rows with 6. All right, so when we're trying to figure out the different ways that we can arrange, we want to really consider that. And then I'll explain this a little further as we get started. So right here, I have 20 chocolate chips. Chocolate chips probably aren't the best thing to use because they do kind of melt, so I'm trying not to touch them a whole lot. And I want to think, how can I arrange my chocolate chips so that I have equal rows with equal numbers in each row? So I could say, well, I could do one just really long row of 20. All right, lay them all out in my row. Okay, I'm trying not to touch them a whole lot because chocolate chips are melty. Squeeze them in here so they fit. They got to be a little smudged together. All right, so I can have one long row of 20. Now, that means that my factor pairs, here I'm going to write the number up top. My factor pairs for 20, I did one row of 20. So I'm just going to write those two numbers next to each other. All right, I could do 20 rows of 1 as well, right? I could do 20 rows of 1 as well. But are the numbers that I said different? They're not. So when it comes to factors and factor pairs, the key is that we know that we can do the opposite way. We can multiply in any order and still get the same number. We know that, but we don't want to list the factor pairs more than once. So 1 and 20 are factor pairs. And I'm actually just going to put a comma in between them. Okay. What would be another factor pair? Well, I want you to see if you can figure it out. All right. I'm going to move my these aren't M&Ms, chocolate chips around. I wish they were M&Ms. I'm going to see if you can figure out another way. All right, so how many of you guys picked this one? Now, you could have picked something different, and that's okay because there's more ways. All right, I picked 2 rows of 10. Did anybody else pick 2 rows of 10? Well, 2 and 10 are factor pairs for 20. All right, 2 and 10 are also factor pairs for 20. Now, if you know your multiplication facts, and you know ways to multiply to get 20, just like remember when you were first learning addition and you learned ways to add to get 10, now we're like talking about ways to multiply to get a certain number. This may be really easy for you, but sometimes it's also easy to miss some, so it's good to try out lots of different things. All right, let's see if we can find one more. There's one more factor pair for 20. Did you get it? Right? We can also have 4 rows of 5, okay, because 4 times 5 equals 20. So right there, we've worked on arrays to find factor pairs of 20. Now let's say if I wanted to try a row of 8. I want to see, can I get a row of 8? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, here's another row of 8. But now I only have 4 left over. So right here, I know that 8 wouldn't work. 8 is not a factor of 20 because I can't make rows of 8. If I wanted to see if 6 was a factor of 20, all right? So I'm going to take my chocolate chips and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, that one's sideways, that's okay, 5, 6. Oh, I only have 2 left. So is 6 a factor of 20? It's not, right? Because I can't make equal rows of 6 with only 20 pieces of candy. Okay, so what would be a really fun activity that you can do with this, especially if it's like around Halloween and you guys have those little mini bags of like Skittles or M&Ms, is to open up one, count how many you have, and see if you can make factors of that number. All right, so just kind of a fun activity that you could maybe do with this, or just any bag of candy, really. You could do that. You don't have to be Halloween candy, right? Just any bag of candy, you can take it and count how many there are and see how many rows you can arrange it in. Maybe you can get like one of the bigger bags of M&Ms and see even with a bigger number, all right? You are going to actually have to be able to find factors numbers all the way up through 100. So this is a really fun hands-on way that you can do it, and then maybe if you're lucky, you can even eat a few pieces of chocolate or Skittles or gummy bears or something afterwards. I really am trying so hard. I love eating healthy food, and I'm trying so hard to think about healthy food that's small enough to do this with. I guess you could like do it with, if you opened up some clementines, those little oranges, and use the pieces, you could arrange them in there and then maybe eat some clementines or smaller pieces of fruit or something like that, or peas. You could do it with peas. I'll see, now I'm thinking of some examples. Carrot sticks. So maybe you could do it with your carrots. All right. But it's just a fun way to be able to have a treat and to practice some math. In the next video with factor rainbows, we're going to go into kind of a more math way to do this, because you don't always have something that you can actually physically move around. When you take FSA, you're just going to have paper and pencil. And so the next video is all about making factor rainbows and how we can use factor rainbows in what's called divisibility rules to help us find the factor pairs of a number. All right, so definitely check that out. Don't just stick with this video and not go on to the other one, because again, we don't always have things, but this is just a great way for you to be able to see and visualize and have a little bit of fun with factors. All right, I'll see you in the next video.